Okay, good evening, everybody. I will call the January 6th, 2026 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. My name is Jim Wendt. I'm the chairman. Joining me in person is Ben Maini, vice chair, Ron Stelmack, regular member, Brendan Liberati, alternate. And joining us on Zoom, we have Sarah Harris, regular member, and Margaret Lee, who is an alternate. We need 5 seated members. We have 2 alternates this evening, and since Brendan sat at our last meeting, it would be Margaret Lee's turn to sit this evening. We have 1 matter up for public hearing tonight. The applicant will make a presentation. We will ask any questions, and then anybody, if there's members of the public here that wish to be heard, they can ask any questions or raise any issues. You need 4 affirmative votes out of 5 for an approval. And the matter before us this evening is 5 Christiana Drive, file 1439, application for proposed variance of section 3.1.5A to permit a 44.9 foot in lieu of 50 foot required minimum setback for a 500 square foot family room, and section 1.9.9B5 requesting a variance of 33 feet in lieu, I'm not quite sure this wording, in lieu of no porch or balcony projection into any required yard area for the construction of a porch at 5 Christiana Drive, owner Justin and Stephanie Gouveia. So we will open that up, file. I presume you're Mr. Gouveia.
That's correct.
So just introduce yourself for the record. And
Justin Gouveia, owner of 5 Christiana Drive, and the applicant for variance.
Okay. Sarah and Margaret, are you seeing that?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So I just put this together, and I'm going to try to be brief with respect to your time. I've already taken enough with my technological and advanced self. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick introduction, who I am, what my wife and I's objective is. Go over the hardship, the land-based hardship that we're requesting a variance for. Talk a little bit about give you some more in-depth information about the family room addition and the front porch, and ultimately give you guys my the reasons that I'm here today requesting the variance. So a little bit about me. I actually am from Monroe. That's my hometown. If you count the year that I've owned Christiana, I will have been a Monroe resident for 19 years. Graduate of Massac in 2005. Went on to get my bachelor's and master's in engineering. I work at Sikorsky, so very local. Married with 2 kids. There's some pictures of my wife and I. And the picture up on the right there is actually us having our first picnic in our new home. So that was really exciting. And then just a little bit about me. I guess I'm a big sports fan. I like to play some golf when time permits or when I'm not remodeling a house. Love spending time with my family, and my hobby is making one. So my objective, I'm not an investor. I'm not interested in a quick flip. My goal is to, or my wife and I, we were looking for a new home. We were living in Shelton, and we fell in love with the neighborhood. We found this house. We knew it needed some work. Didn't really understand quite how extensive that work was going to be when we bought it. But you can't really replace the land, and ultimately, Monroe is a really good place for me to grow up. I had a great experience here. I did my primary schooling, and really that was the main objective, was finding a place in a nice neighborhood, which I can say, based on my neighbors here, checks that box. And also just the school system in general. I mean, that was a major selling point for us. So specifically here, I'm asking for the variance for the family room. as well as the porch. And in here, you can see what the house used to look like about a year ago, and what we're proposing the house to look like if I get the variance. So the hardship, I know it's I apologize. I'm sure you guys look at A2 surveys all the time. So apologies if I'm kind of getting into too much detail here, but the dotted line, the dotted line rectangle, that's the current setback requirement to the current standards. Right now, if you look at the existing home, which is this rectangle right here, you can see that the house was actually, we had a full acre of land here, but the house was put on in such a way that it created this very acute angle relative to Christiana Drive. So unfortunately, based on the current zoning regulations, right, the house was built in 1977, so it predated existing regulations. But based on the current regulations, the existing structure already violates the setback requirement. So it makes any improvement to the front or the side of the house very difficult. And not only is the house or the existing structure relative to the road, at that acute angle, the septic system is also located in the back of the house, so basically makes the back of the house not a viable option for improving the home without going through the challenge of re-engineering the system and going through the health department. So with respect to the family room, that's that checker, or I try to highlight the family room there.
It's the offset box to the right there. Right?
That's the offset box to the right. And I'm glad you noticed the offset, because we actually attempted, when I first proposed the construction of that, I actually wanted to make it flush to the front of the house. So I did, when I sketched it up in the GIS, I proposed that it was in line with the front plane of the home. And working with Tom, he said, hey, I can't let you do that because of the 50-foot requirement. So I basically asked Tom, well, what can I do? And so we actually offset the home from the front, or the addition from the front of the house 12 feet to try to accommodate the setback requirement. In addition to making the house, improving the look of the home, and ultimately enhancing the neighborhood, there is another benefit of having the front or the addition. So because of all the because of the way that the street or the home is relative to the street, my house is actually at a lower point than the road. So right now, all the water is draining into the front of my foundation. So one of the benefits of the family room addition is I can take that dirt and I can actually regrade some of the front of the property to redirect the water around the foundation, around the family room, safely to the back of the yard, which will ultimately stop some of the water intrusion I'm having right now. I've noticed that some of the heavier rainfall, there are cracks in the foundation that have developed over time, and that water is actually coming into the basement. So there is a side benefit of making this change. As far as the front porch is concerned, so my request is 33 feet. Again, you can see based on if you projected the plane of the front of the house towards the road, as you get closer to the right-hand corner of the home, the distance to the road, it diminishes quite a bit. So what I'm looking for is I'd like to add a 6 foot, 6 feet overhung roof, which brings me, or yeah, basically puts me 33 feet from the road at that outermost corner there. And again, other than aesthetics of the home, when I was going through the reconstruction of the home, I actually noticed there was a lot of water damage on the front of the house. So behind the sheetrock, due to exposure to the elements, there was a lot of mold behind the sheetrock, and that was due to just exposure to the elements, moisture. So I also had, if you look in the middle there, there was a lot of dry rot underneath the front door. So again, exposure to the elements, and in some areas of my between the foundation and the framing, the fact that the front of the house was unprotected actually resulted in some of the wood distorting and creating some gaps that had to be sealed up in order to prevent any further damage. So there is a lot of extra benefits of protecting the home, longevity. The wood that we installed is actually a wood door, so protecting it with an overhung roof will actually prevent it from shrinking or expanding during the weather through the exposure to the sun. So there are some structural / safety elements of benefits of actually putting the overhung roof. So again, I apologize, just trying to keep it quick. In summary, we're requesting the variance for both the front porch and family room addition of 17 feet and 5.1 feet respectively to the variance, or the current setback requirements. The current position of the home, predates the current zoning regulations, so making improvements to the front side of the house, extremely challenging while complying with the current zoning regulations. But again, in addition to enhancing the aesthetics of the property and adding value to the home, the proposed addition will actually help preserve the structural integrity and keep the home safe for family. And using AI, I was able to generate a 3D rendering of what I want the house to look like when it's all said and done. So you guys can get an appreciation for my vision once the porch and the family room are up.
Thank you.
Point of clarification on Justin's behalf. We did work together when it came to the family room addition. And like he stated, he wanted to flush originally with the existing residents. I told him that didn't comply with the regulations. So we worked together using the GIS to create a site plan for the family room that was then approved by myself as the zoning officer, and he did receive a building permit for it already. So we thought we were good as far as the setbacks were concerned. Then when Justin came back with the project for the front porch addition, he got the actual A2 survey done through Tracy Lewis. We both noticed that the family room addition actually did encroach into the required yard area. So I said, if you're going to go for the variance for the front porch, you might as well just add the family room addition as well. And so that's why he's requesting variances for two different regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Noonan. Jim went for the record. I don't live too far from here. I drive by this property all the time, so I just want the record to be clear. If anybody hasn't viewed this property personally, the family room addition is essentially it's framed. It's not finished, but it's framed based on the permit that had been issued by the town.
Correct.
And so, as I understand I did have a conversation with Mr. Noonan earlier today, just to kind of clarify what transpired as he just described. So it was the fact that you were seeking the porch project that led the survey to be done, knowing that would need relief And now we're also, since you were relied on the permit that was issued by the town, and now that's added to this, to the shopping list, if you will, of what you're looking for.
Yeah, apologies.
One other question I have, just because I have some remote familiarity, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues, but do you know how long this property had been unoccupied prior to your purchase?
Not very long. I guess maybe my neighbors.
It was never unoccupied.
Oh, never unoccupied, okay.
No, the parents moved out and left the children there. And then the children lived in the house for what, 2 years?
Okay.
More than
A
that.
little more than 2 years. Younger, not children.
Yeah.
23, 24-year-olds, and 23 or 4, 24. So.
I appreciate the clarification.
And they left.
But yeah, then they left, I guess there was a bank issue.
Yeah,
And
okay.
they left briefly and then
Okay.
Yeah,
that's the purchase.
I never had to evict anyone.
Okay.
So the home was vacant when I took ownership of the home when it closed. But yeah, it was quite a, it was a.
It was a foreclosure situation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any members of the board? I'll start with those members that are present, because I can see them, and then Sarah and Margaret, I'll get to you guys. Is there any of the members present? Anybody have any questions?
I do.
Ron?
Okay. Ron Stomack for the record. Have any of your neighbors expressed encouragement to go forward with this, or has anyone expressed, no, we don't want to see this variance granted?
I can say that no one's expressed any, no, I don't want to see this happen. I have spoken with Scott and Christina. I've also spoken with,
Dan.
Dennis,
Dan, the guy across the street,
not across the street.
across the street from your driveway.
Across the street, well, Dan and Kelly, yes.
Yeah.
I've spoken with them.
Al and Irene across the
Al.
On a circle, Al and Irene.
And then Dennis, not directly next to my house, but 2 houses over.
Oh, would that be Mrs. Kasisko?
The principal,
Yeah.
Mrs.
The ex-
Francisco, the ex-principal at
Yeah, I don't know her husband's name.
Yes, Dennis,
Yeah,
Dennis.
okay.
Yeah, so I've spoken with several neighbors. No one's objected to it. I've, obviously,
You never know. Those folks behind you look pretty unruly. They might want to come up.
No, it is fine.
so yeah, none of my neighbors have,
Yeah, we're
expressed
good.
any
I had to ask,
Yeah.
since it didn't come up. I did visit the property today, and what you propose to do is very consistent with the neighborhood. And even though the numbers on paper look like a major variance from street side, all sides of the streets, the circle included, that projection isn't going to create an obvious difference in appearance compared to the surrounding homes, right? And what you're doing brings that house into conformity with the rest of the homes in the neighborhood. They're all quite similar. Just an observation.
Thank you, Ron. Anybody else? Okay, Margaret or Sarah, do either of you have any questions?
Yes, this is Sarah.
Sarah.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Margaret. Yeah, this is Sarah Harris. So I understand there wasn't any major feedback from the neighbors, but just a process clarification. The neighbors were in fact notified that this application was coming forward today. Is that correct?
Correct. They have been.
Yeah, okay.
We have the certified mailing receipts as an
Okay.
exhibit.
Thank you.
Anything else, Sarah, before I move on to Margaret?
No, none for me.
Okay, go ahead, Margaret.
Okay, I too did go and ride around the entire neighborhood to see what the other houses looked like. And I saw that the addition was pretty much fully at least framed in, well under the way for construction. So I'm really not, my question doesn't really pertain to that. That's sort of a moot point at this juncture. My question pertains to the porch. What exactly could you describe for me is the need to have that porch extending further into the setback area, all the way across the building? I say that because to frame it a little bit more, And driving around the neighborhood, there are very, very few of the buildings that have that kind of a porch. Porches that are there in front of most of the buildings where they exist are between two parts of the building, of the home, one on each end that already protruded forward, so the porch just made a straight line across them. So my question really is, what is the actual need for that entire porch? And could it be satisfied, the need be satisfied in a different way?
Yeah, I agree, Margaret. In driving around, the fact that the porch wraps around the property or around the front of the home, it would be a bit of a unique situation. However, I think at this point, that would be more of an aesthetic change, because if you do look at the homes that are around the property, there are porches that extend past or along the face of the entire property, which would still put me in non-conformance to the current zoning regulations. So at this point, when we realize that, hey, what we want to do, or at the addition of a front porch, already puts us behind or out of compliance with current zoning regulations, we decided that we would, if we had to go get a variance, we would like to do it this way so that we can protect the home, the entirety of the foundation, the existing foundation, the windows, the doors, from any of the water damage that we saw when we were deconstructing the home. Again, I wanted to point to this picture in particular. This one is actually taken from the face of the home that wraps around excuse me, my cursor, not sure if you can see that, but the part of the porch, or the proposed porch, that's dying into the family room. So with these issues that we found, the rot, the mold behind the drywall in the front of the home, and these the distorted framing that we saw relative to the foundation, we thought it would be best, one, from protecting the entirety of the front of the home, as well as the aesthetics of now, because the family room is set back so far, to try to tie the house together. So that's why we were proposing the porch in this way.
Thank you.
Anything else, Margaret?
No,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Jim went, for the record, I have to agree with what Ron had to say in terms of it may look starker by the actual numbers, but by visually, it's less of an intrusion than it looks like on paper. But I'm going to go back to your original hardship statement and looking at the way the house is canted. If the house were built parallel to Christiana Drive initially and just rotated, all of this probably would be behind that setback line. So I think the original, your biggest issue here stems from the fact that the house was kind of built facing the corner rather than facing either of the two streets. And so that positioning is kind of is kind of what is limiting your ability here. So, but overall, I have to agree with what Ron says in terms of the scale and scope, that while it may look like a big variance on paper, I think visually, I don't get the sense that it would be an intrusion. That's just my own personal opinion. But if there are no other questions from board members, I'll open it up to see if our neighbors here have any questions or comments. Anybody else? Do you folks wish to be heard on this matter?
No, I just had questions, and we can talk later. I just wanted to.
Well, just come on, just for the sake of the record, please identify yourself and.
Scott Hansen, I live at 36, we're right across from the corner.
You're across, all right.
Where the corner is, I'm on the opposite side of the street.
Gotcha.
Quick question. He's applying for two separate variances?
Correct.
So he can get one and not the other?
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Correct. Yes.
Second question is, by giving him a variance, does that open up the neighborhood to now everybody gets treated the same way and get the same variance without any issues? Or is it all on an individual basis?
No,
Like if I wanted to put a 15-foot porch on the front of my house, but it was, I would be able to do that. I would be able to easily get a variance because he was able to get one across the street.
no, I'll answer.
I don't know how it works.
A variance has to stand on its own in terms of the uniqueness of its property, how it's situated. And a variance granted to one applicant doesn't transfer or mean that any other similarly situated
But does it set
applicant.
precedent?
No, it does not. They're all stand on their
Because
own
down
2
the
feet.
street, there's another house that has a half-built porch on it that looks like somebody might have started and got shut down on. I don't know for sure. It's been that way for 30 years since we moved in. And I was just curious if Justin gets his variance, I'd be very interested in doing something similar to my home.
Mhm.
But I'm 50 feet from the road right now.
Mhm.
So I would need a variance to get mine.
You know for a fact you're 50 feet
Yes,
the front of the house, yeah?
Yes, I do.
Well,
I'm just wondering if it sets a precedent that
It does not.
it's easier for me to do something on my property.
it does not. We would have to weigh your individual circumstance and your property on its own 2 feet, not comparing it to any other previous applicant.
Okay, all right. But other than that,
Having said that, do you have a position one way or the other? Are you neutral? Are you support? Do you
no, I'm
object?
surprised the house was built originally without the appropriate setback.
Right.
We've been, what would have been, 30-something years in our house? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the only house in the neighborhood that's cocked on its lot.
Right.
And it's the only one that I don't feel meets the 50-foot setback. Everybody else has the appropriate setback.
Do you feel that if this applicant were to go forward as proposed, that it would have a negative impact on your property? Have a positive impact on your property?
Yeah, sure. The neighborhood's turning over. It's turning over to kids. We're the old people in here right now. It's all kids everywhere.
I know the feeling.
It's all about- I just had questions regarding that.
I appreciate your question and thank you for being here.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Good luck.
Is there anybody else that wishes to be heard on this matter? I see none in person. Mr. Noonan, is there anybody remotely that is hanging out there?
No hands raised.
Okay. I will therefore close the public hearing on this matter. We will move on to our deliberative portion of our agenda. Am I looking at the right thing? Yes. Okay. So the hearing is closed.
Thank you.
We've had our questions. Does anybody wish to make a motion on this matter for the purpose of discussion so we can consider a vote?
I move that the variance be granted as requested for both the porch and to also cover the family room addition.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I will second that motion.
Okay. Okay, Ron, do you have anything to say other than what you've already said?
I do not.
Okay, Ben?
Well, actually, I do. I simply want to concur and reinforce the point you made is that the positioning of that house, the acute angle to the street, is the hardship.
Yeah.
Right.
Ben?
Yeah, I view it, you have a pre-existing condition with the regulation change and how the house is positioned. There's not many options there. And the variances that are being requested seem minimal in nature. So I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
I would like an opportunity to speak. This
Go
is
ahead,
Margaret.
Margaret.
Here's my feeling about this. And it pertains to the porch, not to the addition. I fully understand the addition and it isn't a big intrusion. In fact, it doesn't protrude anyway further than the main body of the house does from the setback in the septic to the setback area anyway. But the porch, the actual need, as I'm understanding it, for that porch is to protect the front door from rot. The front of any house, and this is my argument here, the front of any house, whether it be facing in north, south, east, or west, is always subject to the elements. and generally, in most any cases, managed to stand up just fine. In this particular case, clearly there were structural deficiencies, I'm sure, what are being addressed now. So, given that, to me, the actual need is to cover the front doorway and the front step that leads up to that doorway. And that I could understand definitely having a portico over it, which would be very much consistent with the architecture of the neighborhood. And such a portico would not go to intrude into the setback area the way a full porch would. And a full porch is really not necessary to protect the doorway. The full porch projects an additional 9 feet into the setback area from a corner of that house on the right-hand side. That's pretty significant to me. So that is my argument, is that I could fully support a portico over that door. It certainly would make a great addition and it would look great on the house. But I really don't feel that there's justification for a full porch going the entire length, given that any home is constructed to withstand the elements on the outside. The water issue, he can already address even with that portico. It doesn't need the porch. By moving the soil to the front as he proposed to have the water slant away from the property. So that's my feeling about that. Thank you for hearing me.
Okay. Sarah, do you have any comments?
Sure. I would say that my comment has basically already been stated, but the unique position of the house is what creates the hardship. So again, I think with both variances that are being requested, had the house been not, had that conforming issue to begin with, these would not be major issues. So I'm in support.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
What's that?
Go
ahead.
Go ahead. Margaret, the thing is that the positioning of the house really isn't an issue with respect to the porch. It's the fact that this is an intrusion into the 50-foot setback that's greater than is really necessary to satisfy the actual need that's required to protect the door. I hate to see us creating a precedent, and it does, for further intrusions into setback that are against the zoning laws of the town.
Okay. Jim Went, for the record, I'm prepared to support both of these requests. I do think that the positioning of this house does impact the porch to some degree. And while I agree with Margaret in the sense that you don't necessarily need an overhang to create weather protection for the foundation, but I think from just the positioning standpoint, I think that creates some hardship for this applicant. And frankly, given the length of this house with this addition on it, I think the scale of the porch is appropriate, and it would look better that way. So from an aesthetic perspective, for the sake of the neighborhood visual impact, I think it's an improvement. But I'm not looking at this solely on the weather protection issue, but I think it's if the entirety of that house were built that it were parallel to the street in its position, this applicant wouldn't even need that setback. So I think there is some hardship with respect to that. I appreciate your position on that, Margaret, and I think everybody's been heard. We'd be ready to call a vote. So the motion on the table is to approve both the setback variance for the family room and for the porch. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was Sarah, you said aye?
Yes, I said aye, sorry.
Okay. All those opposed?
For the record, I oppose the addition the family room addition. I approve the family room addition, I'm sorry.
Yep.
But I do oppose the porch as described.
Okay.
I-
So you're a no
I-
vote with respect to the variance for the porch.
For the porch.
Thank you. That is a 4-1 with respect to both applications. This matter is approved. Pending minutes, so good luck to you.
Board's time and forward to putting down some roots here in Monroe.
Very good. You
Come back.
I will, if you can hang in another 5 minutes, we have pending minutes from December the 2nd. We have all 4 of us, I believe, here that were at that meeting. That would be myself, Ben, Ron, and Brendan. If you guys have had an opportunity to look at those minutes, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes of December 2nd. And Brendan, since you were at that meeting, you'd be voting on this.
Yeah, motion to approve?
I second.
Okay. Any comments on the minutes before we vote? I have none. Ron? Any comment?
No comment.
All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, say aye. Aye. That's 4-0. We have too many papers here now. Organizational meetings, since we don't have all the regular members, we'll carry that over. Obviously, we don't need to discuss in-person meetings since we are here. So other than that, I see, for those of us who are present, I see materials here for Lynn Drive. Is that for next?
That'll be for February.
It's just for next month. So you will be getting a mailing. So if there's no, I don't see any other further business, Mr. Noonan, that we need to discuss this evening. So
We're good.
I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for your time and attention.